Hey everyone, what's up? It's Isaac Guzman here with LPT Realty, and I'm also one of the founders of Agent War Room. And that is where we help real estate agents not just grow, but absolutely dominate their local market. Now, here's the thing, if you're looking to win more listings, you want to build real authority in your marketplace, and finally stop sounding like every other agent out there, then this video is for you. This is all about the ultimate listing presentation, because today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to deliver that ultimate listing presentation. I'm going to give you the outline, right? One that gets sellers to actually start leaning in, nodding their heads, and saying the magic words, "You're the right one I want to work with." Here's the thing, this strategy is going to be different, but before we jump into that, I need you to subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you share, like, and comment, because we're always giving you the best, most relevant information on all things real estate. All right, so let's jump into it, because I want to make sure that you understand. Now, I'm not going to walk you through every single thing that we do. I'm going to walk you through the overall strategy from when we're booking appointments to how we show up, all those things. All the other things in between are places where you get to actually put your own unique view to it. But listen to what we say and what we do. It works really well. This is something that's helped us sell well over 300 listings in a year when we were really crushing it and actually focused on taking and dominating the listing space. So now you might ask, why is it different? Well, it's different because it's not just what you say during the appointment, it's what you do before you ever walk in the door. That's where it all starts. So let's jump in, because the biggest mistake that most agents make is this one. And it's that most agents, they show up and they just kind of wing it, right? They use some same old cookie cutter script. We'll get you top dollar in the shortest amount of time possible. Right? Sound familiar? Sound like your listing presentation? Yeah, mine too, before this, right? Sellers have heard it 100 times. But here's the truth. Top dollar comes from market exposure, emotional connection, and strategic positioning. And it starts before the listing appointment. All right, so let's think about it this way. We're going to talk about something really powerful, which is dropping off mail, dropping off a package, right? Before we ever go sit down with a seller, you've already shown them how you're different. You drop off something that we call on our team the active marketing plan. Now, it's a beautifully designed 20 plus page magazine, and it actually educates seller on what actually sells homes. It talks about how buyers find houses, the 14% of buyers most agents never actually reach, right? It talks about supply and demand and all the psychology behind that, emotional marketing, and our proprietary 4-pillar plan to create a bidding war, because that's what they really want. Now, on the cover, we usually put a sticky note, and it says something like this: "Thought you'd get value from this. Isaac, your local real estate expert," right? That's it. No sales pitch, just value. You heard me. No sales pitch in that. And you know what happens? The sellers call. Even before we follow up sometimes. It's happened recently a couple times. I'm not going to say it happens every time, but it definitely does. Now, here's the thing. Once we drop that off, now who are you dropping that off to? Well, it's people that we believe are likely to sell. Either old leads, these are the best ones, right? People who have requested a value of their home, people who have filled out some kind of contact form and we have their address. Those are the very best. We also can do it with expired, for sale by owner, and people that are just that you're really trying to target. Maybe it's high equity empty nesters, right? But dropping that information off is super important. Now, for us, we reserve it for people who have requested cash offers or values of their home from any kind of online source or through our email marketing, because they've expressed a high interest in selling their home. So, and these magazines aren't cheap, so we want to make sure that we're dropping them off at the right place. All right, so let me break down the follow-up for you, because we send out this packet. I'll include some of that in the video, what this all looks like. You can actually even get it from LPT Realty. If you're an LPT real estate agent, you can actually get your active marketing plans. You can get a couple for free when you first join, and then you can order the packs of them. They're going to be cheaper than anywhere else you get them, and they're going to be custom branded to you. Anyways, so But regardless if you use LPTs or you come up with your own, you want something that demonstrates, hey, we do things differently. We're going to show you how we market the property. We drop it off and we answer a lot of questions. And the way we position the magazine is the way that I'm going to talk about everything else right here moving forward. So let's real quickly go over the follow-up call. This is usually 24, 48 hours after it's been dropped off. You make the call. And you don't try to sell them. You actually just start the conversation. So the script sounds a little bit something like this, like, hey, Bob, I dropped something off at your door yesterday, and I just wanted to check if you've had a chance to take a look at it. Now, there's some stuff in there that most agents, real estate agents just like me, they never really talk about. Curious if you had any thoughts or questions since you've reviewed it. That's it. Simple, not pushy, but it can be very powerful. All right, so here's the thing. You got to think about this because the next thing we do is really like a mindset shift, but it's got to start with you before you can help them understand how that shift's supposed to work, right? So one is your goal is to find the market, not just a buyer. Now, you've always thought and probably even been taught that your job as a listing agent is to find the buyer. But the truth is, we're here to find the entire market. Now, of which the best, most qualified, most competitive buyer will arise. Not just any buyer. I want the best buyer out there. So here's where things get pretty interesting in this, right? Most agents try to find a buyer. We focus on finding the market. That shift in mindset changes everything, our entire approach. While other agents wait until the house hits the market, and this is what we're telling them, we already do all the groundwork. All right. We're calling every agent who's sold in that zip code in the last 12 months, activating our internal buyer database, scheduling all showings in a 3-hour, very competitive window. Now think about it. What's more powerful? And this is something we say, a buyer walking through alone on a Tuesday at 11:45 or 14 buyers walking through in a 3-hour block, all seeing each other, feeling the competition and thinking, I better act faster, I'll lose this house. We create urgency. We manufacture demand. And most importantly, we flip the power back to the seller. Right? This is what we talk about. And not only is this what we say, this is actually what we do. So you might hear me say, I'm going to call every agent that's sold in the zip code in the last 12 months. Absolutely. Especially the people who have sold more than double the average, right? So if you see everybody who's sold in that zip code on the buy side, and then you go ahead and average them out, whoever sells more than double the average is probably buying leads in that market. And I for sure want to talk to that person. They're buying Zillow leads or Realtor.com leads or whatever it is. They're buying buyer leads in that market because typically to represent multiple buyers in a specific zip code, it's not because you farm that zip code necessarily, because most people aren't moving from within that zip code to stay within that zip code, right? The majority of people that buy in a given zip code, this isn't a rule or a law, but it just seems to work this way. The majority of people that buy in a given zip code are coming from a different zip code. So chances are, if you're representing a bunch of buyers in that zip code, it's not because you farm it necessarily, like you know everybody there, your kids go to school there, it could be, but you also buyer leads in that zip code. That's how you end up with a lot more buy sides, right? So anyways, now our private database, that's really any lead that's ever come from our website that's searching for homes in that zip code, I'm going to call through them, right? So these are things that I'm going to leverage, probably things that you might do, but listen not just to the strategy that we have, but the way that we say it, the way that we position this for the sellers. Already my presentation is probably better and more inviting and thought-provoking, because that's the important part. I got to make them think. I got to make them question, does anybody else approach real estate this way? And the answer is going to be largely no. All right, so here's the thing. Now, let's say we get the opportunity, right? Because we're able to tell them, hey, we're going to bring you the full market, right? We tell them this is exactly what we do. We're going to flip the power back to you. Okay. And again, I'm not breaking down the whole script in this. If you want the entire script, drop it in the comments below. Let me know that you want the entire script. We can walk you through all that. I'll just maybe make another video of it and post it in there, but I'll send you the script if you go ahead and comment. Anyways, let's say we're at the house now. Okay. We're presenting at the table. When you're finally at the listing appointment, you can't be winging it. You got to walk in with clarity and confidence. So the first thing you might want to say is, before we dive in, do you have any questions that you want to make sure that we cover? Then you got to lay out a map of the process. If you do not have a visual representation of your listing process, you need to get one done. It's extremely important for them to be able to visualize it. If you're just talking, right? It's really hard for a lot of people to visualize it. Now, maybe some people are auditory learners, but the reality is they're not going to be mad at a map. All right. So the majority of times you need to have a map out there. Actually, every time you got to have that out there. So here's the thing. You got to explain how the typical sales process is broken, right? How showing homes one-on-one, right? One at a time in private showings, it actually kills negotiation power, right? Now, our system, it's different. It brings the market to the home. Then we walk them through our pre-marketing outreach, right? The power of our internal buyer database, like I said earlier, and our agent outreach strategy. Okay. We also talk about our print, digital, and social rollout. We execute all of those. Now, our competitive showing strategy, that's really important too, right? Because throughout this, we need to help them understand that our competitive showing strategy is to funnel every interested party into one grand opening event instead of private showings. That's really important because remember, when you have a private showing, and we might even take them back and say, hey, you know what, take off your seller hat for a second, put on your buyer's hat. Okay. Remember when you were buying? What it was like? Did you see it? Did you see this house via private showings? Like, yeah. Yeah. It was super convenient, right? Like you decided you wanted to see the house at 6 o'clock. You saw it at 6. And the person had the house clean. Didn't matter what they were up to that day. Doesn't matter if they have small kids. Doesn't matter if they have to spend $150 to go out to dinner for you to come and see the house. But they had to vacate their property for like 2 hours and be inconvenienced because that's what you wanted. Right. And then what'd you do? You walked in and said, look at that little crack in the chip in the, and then you're going to give some basic feedback, but also you recognize that the adversary in this situation was the seller, right? And now you're trying to nickel and dime them. You're constantly trying to figure out what they would take, and they become your adversary, all right? What we do that's different is we funnel everyone in a grand opening event. This is what we show them on the map. We go, hey, the listing goes live on this day. People start flooding in. Agents are calling. People are calling. And we're funneling them all into one grand opening event on Saturday or Sunday. It's a 3-hour window. Now, here's the other thing too. Not just the people that are calling in, but the people that we're calling. We're calling our database. We're emailing. We're reaching out to people from inside of our database. Those agents that we talked about are high leverage contacts where we reach into their databases as well and try to figure out, hey, who do you know that wants to buy in this area, right? So all of that, any interest that we get, we funnel to one grand opening event. And instead of them, the buyer walking in and going, this is a nice house and on my terms I show. No. They get squeezed in. There's 15, 13, 10 other people inside the house at that point. And what do you think they're thinking, right? So I want you to give me a scenario, or I'll give you a scenario. You go to a department store, you try on a nice jacket, right? Nice coat, it's a perfect fit. You're like, okay, this one's pretty nice. You take it off, you put it back on the hanger, you put it back on the rack, and then someone walks up right behind you and grabs that exact same coat. Now, just a second ago, you were like, oh, that's a nice coat. It's a consideration. Well, in reality, like that person shows up, gets that coat and tries it on too. What's the thoughts that are going through your brain? Get your hands off my coat, right? That's the power of psychological part of driving everyone to one grand opening event. So here's the thing. When we put buyers against other buyers with your home as the grand prize, you win. Right? That's an empowering sale that you got now. Now you shifted all the negotiating power back to you because they're focused on one another. Instead of seeing you as the adversary, they see each other as the adversary. Do you see how that's different? Right? And here's the really important part. I've always got to be asking things like, does that make sense so far? Right? Any questions about that part? Because here's the thing, it's not a monologue. This is a dialogue. And the seller's part of the strategy. We need to get them to buy in. We need to get them to first agree that it's different and then agree that it works differently, right? So that's really the gist of what we're doing is we're walking them through and saying, hey, look at everyone's goal is to find a buyer, not to find the market. And when you find the market, it brings a buyer, sure, but it brings the best one. And it brings them to the table requiring their A game. Okay, they can't just show up and be like, okay, I'll just write this offer. No, when they sense competition, they got to be the best version of themselves, right? Because having showings happen over 5, 10, 15, 20 days, 30 days, 60 days, and getting little bits of feedback from here and there and all over the place doesn't really do us any good. And it doesn't give us negotiating power because they don't know that other people were also interested, right? So let's say, for example, the house was overpriced or that wall that was green should actually be painted blue. Well, you wouldn't necessarily do any of those things off of one showing every couple weeks or even every couple days, right? But if everyone was funneled to one grand opening, the entire market is funneled there. here's what we're able to do. We're able to see everyone said the same thing. Everyone says it's overpriced. Everyone says that blue wall should be green. Everyone said, see what I'm saying? We're able to actually make decisions based off of the entire market and getting a full market response, as opposed to just one random person's opinion here and there. Right? This is a very empowering thing. You get to make decisions that are well informed, and ultimately, and if we do it right, we price it right, we do the marketing right, what's going to happen is multiple offers, or at least people feeling the sense of competition such that they bring their best offer forward right out the gate. All right, so that's really the gist of it. We got to first make sure that we drop off we got to target people the right way first. Okay, target the right people. Expired for sale by owner, people who have requested information on your website, right? We got to target them with some kind of drop off that explains, it kind of breaks the ice. Then we give them a quick, non-threatening call, right? When they go, yeah, you know what, I could see this. This is very different. Cool, great. I can walk you through exactly what we do. We get there. Okay, now we're walking them through the same thing. Everyone else uses this one cookie cutter approach. We do something completely different. We funnel everyone to one grand opening event using our deep marketing channels, tapping into our huge network, tapping into our database, and we're going to funnel everyone to this one grand opening event. Okay, in addition to that, this is something I almost forgot, is we're also going to make sure that our photography stands out. If you don't do twilight footage, you got to start doing twilight footage. Here's the reason why, and we even show them in the listing presentation. Hey, look at this. Look at all your competition. Daytime shot of the front, daytime shot of the front, daytime shot of the front. Once in a while, you'll see something unique, but daytime shot of the front. What we show up is those twilight photos, right? They're kind of that purple and yellow kind of highlights, right? Well, that stops people in the scroll. It's a pattern interrupt. All right, so our first showing is actually online. So even from our photography, the way that we position the listing is going to be different than everybody else. Then we funnel everyone to the grand opening event. We pit buyers versus buyers. When they take their eyes off of you and focus on your house and beating the other competition, you end up ultimately with the power. You end up being able to get top dollar the fastest, right? Instead of just saying, I'm going to get you top dollar the fastest, I'm going to show you how we do that. Okay, that's the whole point. So, okay, Isaac, great. What do you need to pull this all off, right? If you were following this, the tools that you need to execute this, right? You'll need a few things. One, you have to have a custom branded marketing piece. Okay, like I said, you can see our marketing plan, our active marketing plan is what we use. It's branded to our agents on our team. Fantastic. All right, you're also going to need a CRM with buyer search alerts, things like KV Core, Lofty, right? You get it. And that's so that you can go ahead and pull up a list of all the people who have been on your website or are currently in your database looking for homes in that area, right? All right, next, you're going to need templates for emails, texts, and running ads, okay? What you're going to send to those agents, what you're going to send to people in your database, and how you're going to market that listing digitally, right, by running ads. Now, here's the thing. You need the ability to schedule and manage showing windows, whether it's you or somebody on your staff or somebody on your team, your listing manager, whatever it is, you have to be able to coordinate all that, right? And we like to do appointment stacking. So even if someone calls for an appointment and the open house is going to start at 1, guess what? They get an appointment at 1, and the next person gets an appointment at 1:10, and the next person gets an appointment at 1:20. Right? We want to stack them up there. Even if they're going to just show up during the open house window, we still stack all that there. All right, because it's all what we call human staging. All right, and of course, you got to have the right follow-up. You got to have the right scripting. You got to have the right process, the right tools. That's all going to be in your CRM as far as tools, and then scripting. That's going to be based on what your unique proposition is. Again, if you're using what we do, I kind of gave you those initial scripts, right? All right, so if you don't have those, as a matter of fact, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just thinking about it right now. I'm going to go ahead and upload some of them inside the Agent War Room. All right, so if you want to learn more about Agent War Room and how you can get in there, it's a completely free community. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to hire anybody. You don't have to move brokerages. All right, it's just something that we put together as a huge value add for everybody. All right, so you can go ahead and do that. And we give agents like this plug and play stuff all the time. So I'm happy to go ahead and upload those scripts in there. All right, real quickly, the kind of parting thoughts, right? The ultimate listing presentation outline. This is really about positioning. You don't need to be the slickest talker. You need a system, all right? One that educates, differentiates, and activates the seller's trust. So if you want help setting this up, by the way, inside of your business, If you're like, man, I need the full listing presentation kit, or if you're curious about how we partner with people just like you, then you got to hit the link in the description and book a free strategy session. Or you can join us inside the agent war room. I'll show you how to set this up step by step so you can win more listings. And finally, become that go-to agent in your market, the one that dominates, that people go, how'd you do it? Right. So thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you found this helpful. And I'll catch you on the next video. Let's go out there and win some more listings.